Moscow is ready for a ceasefire in Ukraine at any time, but that prospect is unrealistic and unacceptable as long as Kiev and the West insist on Russia's military defeat. That's one of the messages from Russia's ambassador to the United Kingdom in a recent interview with the Sunday Times. However, the article, initially published a week and a half ago, was later quietly deleted by the British outlet. Well, I'm delighted to say we can cross live now on the programme to Andrei Kelin, Moscow's envoy to the UK. Ambassador, hello and thank you for your time today.
Okay, good morning.
Can I perhaps start by asking, why did you agree to be interviewed by The Times? Of late, it's been particularly hostile to Moscow. And did you ever have a feeling during the discussion that the piece might not be published or removed?
I have a very controversial experience with dealing with the British journalists. Sometimes they are, especially in the television, sometimes they're very aggressive. They are trying to corner me or to put questions which I cannot answer. In the case of Times, a very experienced political observer has come and interviewed me during an hour. And I was pleasantly surprised when I have seen the text of this article. It has been reflecting, in fact, what I have said, without distortions or phrases taken out of context. I wonder how serious the pressure was on Times, a very respectful and very popular newspaper, that they had to remove the whole article, and it is not revealed as an alternative towards the British audience. It is quite clear that pressure was very, very serious on the newspaper to do this, which is saying by itself that censorship does exist, unfortunately, in the United Kingdom.
Can I perhaps just expand on that? Because you talked about the balance of the piece, and that's what a lot of commentators under the piece had to say as well. So it does lead to the question, why do you think the Times took the decision to take down your interview?
As I have said, the censorship, and it is only I do not like the phrase a double standard, but it looks like it is the case. And the censorship in Britain is becoming more and more serious in the course of the conflict. It is well known to your channel, of course, has been strapped and prohibited to carry out its duty on all across Europe. But as I understand that, of course, many people here in Britain are thinking differently. And the alternative point of view, which does not coincide with the narrative that is provided by the UK government and by the majority of the UK newspapers, is being requested. The people would like to know what is happening in the world in general, and it's important to formulate the vision, because the conflict is complicated, and one-sided view that is being sponsored by UK government, I think it is wrong in many ways, and people should know alternative view in order to make their own judgment.
And that's why I think the article was so popular, that so many people wrote on it and commented and had their say, that they wanted to hear that alternative view. Ambassador, you've said that Moscow does not intend to keep taking the initiative to improve Russian-British relations, but at the same time is aware that interaction with London is not over. So how can such a stalemate continue politically?
Well, it's a good question. That is true, that it is on the initiative of London. On the initiative of London has destroyed the whole architecture of the relationship, starting from political and economical, and going down to the culture, science, education, liaison between cities, and all the rest of it. whole palette of it. But at the same time, I'm not saying about the rupture of diplomatic relationship. Our relationship between two countries, they count about 450 years, and we have difficulties at different times. We have ups and downs. To disrupt a relationship, it happens only when two countries are in a state of war, usually. Of course, for us, it's important in this difficult, really difficult international situation to maintain channels of communication. And as far as I understand, also officials of London, foreign ministry and the government, they are of the same view that we should keep contacts and keep liaison, although it is many areas are frozen. As for normalization of contacts, it is not the issue for today or tomorrow. This possibility can be opened when confrontational line of confrontation towards our country will be stopped, and London will be prepared to take into account also our interests and not only thinking about the dominance and the necessity to impose its own interests.
Just perhaps expanding on the latter part of that, if increasing involvement by London in Ukraine is seen, how do you assess the risks, the possibility of Britain coming into direct conflict with Moscow?
Britain is involved in many ways in the conflict. It is supplying arms, a lot of arms. It is now, so to say, on second place in NATO after the United States in doing this. It is providing, supplying Kyiv financially in order to up a bit its life economy in it. Besides, it is training a lot of Ukrainian personnel, not only officers, but also specialists. And we know that British specialists are taking part in planning of operation in Ukraine as well, and providing them with the sensitive information. We heard also that facts that lots of British citizens are taking part in combat over there in Ukraine. So it means that Britain is going deeply and deeply in this conflict. And so far, we haven't seen any common sense, and revelation of common sense on the part of the official London, because it continues, escalation continues in that sense. And step by step, stakes are higher and higher in order to make this strategic defeat on Russia, in which we do not believe at all.
Rishi Sunak as well previously stated that Britain is working on a legal process at an international level to use Russian money to finance the reconstruction of Ukraine. Britain, I believe, would then be the first country to hand over Russian citizens' money, taxpayers' money, to Ukraine. In terms of legality, in terms of how far this process, do you know, is along, what can you say on that subject?
Well, it is, at the moment, it is clear that it is absolutely illegal to take financial means from a sovereign country and to use it for different purposes. This is a theft. And the majority of experts, of lawyers, they are saying that international law does not allow this. And it is not only here in London, in UK, but also in Brussels, which is trying to find some ways to do what you have said, to transfer this money. It is illegal, but the logic, the current logic, which is totally absurd, I would say, is saying that let us invent something else beyond the common international law, which will allow us to do this transfer. Well, of course, many businessmen, contributors, they are looking at the banks all over the world, and they perfectly understand that any country can be in this place, and this all undermines the credibility of banks, credibility of Western financial system, where dollar is dominating totally. And by this action, they're only speeding up the transition of international trade from dollar to the national currencies.
It really does look like an incredibly risky move by Western officials. Can I touch upon something else you said earlier as well? European countries criticize African nations for expelling Western journalists who engage in anti-state activities. But as you laid out earlier, at the same time censor Russian TV channels, including our own. Those same European nations don't appear to see any contradictions in their actions, and it seems to be a trend that's growing.
This is, again, this expression which I do not like. It's double standard policy. And it stems from the general view upon the world, which has recently been expressed by the High Representative of the European Union on International Affairs, Borrell, who has said that Europe, this is a flourishing garden, and the rest of the world, these are jungles. This is a thing which is totally wrong. And I believe that it will only is to exist when the West will come to an understanding that the world is multipolar, and they are not supposed to teach the others how to behave. In the first place, they should also realize that the mistaken attitude of their own country towards the whole world, to the rest of the world.
Europe's economy has been hit hard, we know, by blowback to anti-Russian sanctions this year particularly, but the EU has, until recently, kept adding new ones. Is there going to have to be, I suppose, some sort of citizen-led, concerted opposition to such moves before policies are altered? Or do you think Western elites will stay the course regardless, despite the financial pain being inflicted on their own people?
It's about an economy, as I understand. The recent year, as we understand, the inflation in Great Britain has still above 10%, even this month. And of course, we do see that United Kingdom is in the last place among 7 big countries in its economical attitude. For the moment, in comparison with Russia, and this comparison has been done by many right now, our economy is stable, and the financial system is quite to date. It has not disappeared. The ruble is pretty strong. And sooner or later, I believe that they will come to a realistic point of view and analyze the situation. But probably it is not today, because if they will come to that, they will have to acknowledge that they have done a mistake in introduction of the sanctions.
Right. Another issue to get your thoughts on, you've said the United Kingdom would not be able to refuse to supply depleted uranium shells to Ukraine because of established military practices. Just want to point out that's despite UN bodies pointing out the radiation risk from such armaments. What are these military practices, and why do they have such a strong influence, it appears, on British politicians?
Right. I think it is common knowledge that depleted uranium has been used in all Western armies, the majority of Western armies in Germany, for instance, in the UK, in France, as a part and parcel of their forces. It has been used during the war in the former Yugoslavia in 1999, and also in Iraq. And we all know the consequences. We know that in Italy, for instance, some cases has already come to the court, and it has been won that because soldiers that were under influence of this depleted uranium, they are suffering from different diseases, including oncology and others, of course. To say that it was wrong, that will be also a recognition of a mistake. As for us, a big mistake that has been done during the recent years. As for us, we will continue to explain on the basis of the studies that has been done in Belgrade, for instance, that depleted uranium is polluting and contaminating the environment and water especially. And it results into the big growth of oncology and psychological diseases, genetic corrections among children, So it will last for at least 60 generations. So this is a terrible thing. And if it will happen in Ukraine, it will be a trouble, big trouble for the agriculture and for the people that are living over there.
Allow me to get personal for a moment, Ambassador, if you will, because right now the UK-Russia relationship looks in very bad shape. You say that, you point out relations go back some 450 years between Moscow and London. It's a big diplomatic post, an important position. How has that affected your daily work routine from what's been happening?
No, of course, the tasks of the embassy, they are varying. So I will say that every embassy and in the capital, such as London and British embassy in Moscow, have very many, a wide range of tasks that it has to fulfill. And they're changing under the circumstances. For the moment, since relations has been cut in different areas, of course, we do not so many contacts to develop them across the range. But on the other hand, we have lots of other things to do. Among them, for instance, protection of interests of the Russian citizens that are here, the consular support of them, liaison with officials here on political subjects, and not last but and the least is that to provide and to distribute the point of view upon the current conflict, what we are trying to do in our interviews and in our information that is being provided by the embassy. We have also a variety of other things to do. So we are not short of work. We have quite a lot to do, in fact.
I believe it. Just finally, I know it's a big topic, but I would like just to hear your thoughts on it. We've been watching major geopolitical events unfold really rapidly of late. Do you have a sense why such fast-paced changes are happening now?
The international political system is changing all the time. The current stage of it has started not now, not a year ago. I think it has started in the beginning of the 90s or even probably in the end of the 80s. This is a painful and long political process, and we have just entered into the new phase of it when some countries has to change their attitude. Because the collective Western countries, they do not like it at all. They are trying to prevent and protect their position of dominance, of global dominance, and they do not to take this multipolar world in which they have to live. So what is happening in Ukraine right now, it is just one of the stage of big global reconstruction of political processes. And we have to live with it probably during the coming 10 years. So let us hope that the common sense will prevail and we will live through this peacefully and normally.
Well, thanks so much for going through all those subjects with us today. We really appreciate your time. We've been speaking to Andrei Kelin, Russia's ambassador to the United Kingdom. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.